Okay, it's pretty much confirmed that Genshin is not coming to the Nintendo Switch. However, what about the other HoYoverse games? They could still get on it, right? Well, I don't think so. Like ZZZ and Honkai probably will not come to the Switch. It's so easy to know it could literally be turned into just 2 points. Unless one very specific reason, but we'll get into that after the other 2 points. The first one is the graphics. I think this is kind of obvious. While the graphics for the Nintendo Switch aren't necessarily bad, but they're very unreliable. For every Zelda Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom, there is definitely a The Witcher 3 or Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. But then the question becomes, how could they put the graphics on the Switch? That's the thing. That's very difficult. Currently, the graphics on a Switch are pretty much the same as on a phone. It was way better when it came out in 2017, but now 7 years later, that's not the case anymore. So the only way that the Switch could run a HoYoverse game in today's time, well, you'd pretty much need to use just phone graphics. So imagine just like using a Switch. In handheld mode, it looks fine. It doesn't look terrible. But then you put it into the dock and you try to play it on your TV. That would not look good. Definitely compared to PlayStation, I don't think that's what the HoYoverse would want their games to look. And that's definitely not the reputation that they want of a console version of their game, if that is something that they really care about. That's why the second point is definitely the one that puts the nail in the coffin. And that's as easy as, well, it's the end of the life cycle for the Nintendo Switch. Let's be honest here. Just like I said earlier, the Switch was released in 2017, 7 years ago. Not only that, but it's already been announced that there will be a successor to the Nintendo Switch. So imagine that they would try to make a Switch port. That would take a lot of time and money. Those two things are pretty much the most valuable thing to them. If they actually try to make the port, the moment that it finally is finished and finally gets released, the Switch 2 will pretty much already be announced. And then they'll probably have spent all that time for nothing. People will be jumping from the Switch to the successor, and then you just have the port with no one to play it. It could be argued that people will still be using the Nintendo Switch, but that's pretty much the same as saying that people are still using the 3DS now, which not most people are really doing. So it would definitely be a way better business decision to just wait for the next Switch and just make a port for that. It will definitely get upgraded with better graphics, and it will not take that long. If you like it or not, that is definitely the better financial decision. There is definitely one more thing that I would want to talk about. The one reason why it could actually be on the Switch. Let's say that the Switch 2 or the successor to the Switch actually comes out. If the hardware and software are basically just the same but the next one is just better, then possibly HoYoverse might be interested in making, well, let's say a graphically better version for the newer Nintendo Switch while making a quote-unquote lesser quality version. This is basically only if the two systems are almost the same, because otherwise this would not work. As far as we know, the next Switch could be like a Wii U. So in that one very specific situation, it could happen, and it would actually be a financially better decision. Of course, they've got all the money in the world, but even then, costs are still a thing, and they would want to reduce them as much as possible. At the very least, that's what I think. I'd really like to know how other people think about this. Have you given up hope, or are you still hoping? Either way, subscribe for even more of these videos. I really like making them, and I'll see you next time.